Hi guys, welcome to the end of our big build here at Hadlow College, where we've created two brand new enclosures for two brand new species for the college collection. So behind me here we've got their brand new fox enclosure, and then the furthest exhibit is a cat enclosure, probably most likely going to house a serval in the near future. So follow me and I'll show you what we've done. So first things first, on the kind of the visitor side, obviously they're normally going to have students coming up and down this pathway. So these gates here are actually designed to be predominantly shut. But on the days when they want to have open days, like they have a couple of big events here every year and then with visitors coming through, we've actually created this one-way system that basically creates this track through and up to the polycarbonate windows. So they get an amazing view of the species inside, but under normal circumstances these will be shut. When they are open, we know this wouldn't work under most sort of zoo conditions, but they're going to have volunteers here standing and watching people to make sure that they stay within this area and don't reach out and do anything they shouldn't be doing, basically, so it'll only ever be supervised. But obviously you've got a lovely view into the enclosure space, which Chris has covered as part of his vlogging that he's been doing over the course of this build. Lovely little den area for the foxes to tuck themselves away in nice and snug, next to the very comfortable fire hose hammock that we've all had a little test out of as well. So in all areas of access we've tried to leave a nice wide pathway so the students can get wheelbarrows up and down the area. At the moment it is a bog, but it's going to dry out nicely and they're going to create some proper pathways. And then you've got this nice large corridor straight between the two spaces. So entry into both enclosures is through this large shut-off space, so it can also be accessed around the back as well, which has an equally large corridor, and then there's plenty of areas here for the students to congregate before they go into any enclosure space. So we're going to go first into the foxes. Because of obviously having the tin, we wanted to make sure the visibility was still good, so we have put a polycarbonate window on the doorway, which gives you a good field of view pretty much all the way around the enclosure. And obviously there's different viewing points from other spaces as well if they can't find the foxes at any point. So basically we've kind of created three main areas in here. So you've got the kind of the covered space at the top where we've gone for as much height and as much complexity as we possibly can do. Then this back sort of space, obviously we've gone for some slightly lower resting and climbing areas, and we've kind of deliberately done sort of the bracing to be kind of a diagonal visual barrier as well. So if the foxes want to feel nice and tucked up away from everything, they can do. And then as you come around, you've got more of an open space on this side, partly through the limitation of the trees, but actually, again, from a learning point of view, this is a real nice blank canvas for the students to set up things like substrate piles, log piles, and anything else that they want to kind of have a go at. Obviously doing kind of things like enrichment is part of their curriculum, so this will give them lots of kind of opportunities to try different things out with these animals. That leads on nice and neatly to our high wire feeder, basically kind of created a similar way as a zip line, but obviously again the kind of it's left very long at the moment, but obviously the length of the chain can be adjusted, so there can be different points where the foxes can access the food off the ramps, off the little mushrooms, or on the other side as well. So lots of different ways of using that to feed these guys, keep them active, keep them healthy. Obviously on the back of the wall we've kept everything kind of quite low, just to kind of make sure that there's no kind of jumping off points here. Everything is basically built so that it is a good 3 metre span from anywhere that foxes can jump out, just from a safety point of view. And we've kind of teased these feeders a little bit on some of the videos that we've already put out, but essentially we wanted to have a way when the students come in here they're going to be in with the foxes, so obviously if they're just kind of laying food out, the foxes are going to be following them around and feeding, but this way they can actually station the foxes and the students can come over. Basically these operate with these little handy tubes, very easy to fill, very easy to pop out, little ice bullets. Pop that in there, pop that in there, and it basically holds it shut, and obviously they can use 1, 2 or 3. The ice can be frozen in different ways to make it last longer or shorter periods, and then also we've given them access in the top so that obviously they can then load the food in. Nice and easy. And then it will take anywhere from the shortest time we've had them running is about half an hour, up to about 2.5 hours basically. And obviously on different temperature days they're going to last longer, going to last shorter. So it's going to be a great little student project to kind of play around with this and see how many different ways they can find to use it. We've also done a few of our spinning feeders. Again, kind of dotted around, both these two in the windows and then a whole load more in the serval enclosure. And yeah, basically just looking for lots of different opportunities to hide food and get these guys working. Obviously this is the main kind of sheltered covered area in this space. So we've actually sealed up this roof so that it actually does create a covered area in bad weather. And as I say, because of the way the walls are built, because of the way the roofing is, this is a really nice sort of sheltered space for them to kind of keep them away from the weather when they want to be. And then over here is obviously where we've gone to town with the height. We know these guys like to be up high, we know they like to climb, so we really wanted to make the most of that. Obviously a lot of people would build a sort of more terrestrial space for a fox, but we know that they will use this and we cannot wait to see how they kind of set about exploring it. But yeah, just creating lots of high points, lots of pretty points as well. And again, part of this is just to kind of give the students lots of different inspirations for things that they might want to kind of look at in the future as they move on with their careers, especially if they go into things like enclosure design, how to use different shapes, how to use different spaces to best maximise animal welfare. Now obviously we haven't actually meshed this enclosure, so the fence line goes down a metre, and when it hits that metre mark the ground is very solid. So obviously that is something that they will need to watch, but there's been lots of places that have successfully housed digging species, and just any time they do see any digging by the fence line, obviously that's something that they would just fill in, and these guys have got lots of other things to do, so we're not too worried about that. But obviously we wanted to create some spaces for digging as well, so we've got the kind of the raised mound in the middle, which I'm sure they'll have some fun excavating, and also this will be filled with substrate, so they'll be able to dig around in there as well. So encouraging that behaviour, not rather than limiting it essentially. And obviously from a little safety point of view, we've actually also made sure that although these have locks on both sides, you can actually reach through and you can lock and obviously unlock. If you accidentally get locked in somewhere, you can get access out again if you need to. So then we're going over to the serval space. We've got a nice big shut-off. So these guys are actually going to be, as part of the learning process for the students, managed as a Category 1 animal. So that means that the students and the technicians won't be going into the same space. So we needed to make sure there was a shut-off area. They've also got the pre-existing house, which we've linked up to this area as well. So they'll be able to shift and manage them as they would do a larger species if they were going into a zoo setting. But we, as with all of our previous builds, we always like to make sure that the shut-off is as exciting as the main space. So as you can see, we have gone to town filling this with lots and lots of climbing structures and lots of bits and pieces. We've also got another timed feeder over here, and again places to kind of tuck food and get these guys working as well. So yeah, so basically we've tried to keep this space as exciting as the main space too. We also wanted to make maximum use of the space as well. So again, because we had the nice big shut off, we didn't want that to eat into the enclosure space. So you can see that the cats can actually get up on top of that area, and then there's some boarding around there as well. It's going to be a beautiful sunspot when in peak kind of summertime, so they can be up there and yeah, enjoy that space as well. And then last but by no means least, obviously this was our big covered area where we could really go to town with the climbing structures, and as you can see, we have fulfilled that brief beautifully. Now, a lot of people would say, well, a serval is a terrestrial species, so, you know, why have you done all this climbing stuff? We know from personal experience and from sort of seeing a lot of these cats in different zoo spaces that actually, yes, in the wild they are a savanna species, they will be out in kind of the long grass, but actually certainly in a captive setting, whenever we've seen them, when they've had the opportunity to have height, they have used it. And so we wanted to make sure that they actually had the maximum amount of space available to them by giving them this height. Some of it's fixed, some of it's moving, so it's not going to challenge them beyond their capabilities, but it is going to give them lots and lots of options. And the other nice thing about this, because it is a college setting, is it also future-proofs it. If they decide at some point to go for a different cat species, and maybe potentially slightly larger cat species, then actually this will work equally well for them as well. So we're really, really pleased with how this has turned out. Again, another ice time feeder under there. Lots and lots of cosy little cubby holes to kind of get up high, get tucked into. Lots of sheltered areas as well, especially if they do end up going for a second cat in here. Then again, if they ever have to be separated at any point, there's lots of visual barriers, lots of places for them to tuck themselves away from each other, as well as from the students and potentially people walking around. We have done our very best to keep the 2 trees in here as unaffected by this build as possible, and we've made a real feature of this one, so when this one comes back into leaf, it is going to be fantastic, and we deliberately built the climbing structures kind of around and within it, so that again, going to provide during the year different kind of opportunities for feeling sheltered, feeling safe, feeling secure. So if you've seen our previous videos, you will have seen these trebuchet feeders in action, but essentially you can unclip the bottom, drop it down, clip the food on, and then you can raise it back up as high as you want by obviously adjusting the length of the chain, and then that gives the cat an opportunity when they come back in to get up and jump for the food. And being a cat species and an energy efficient species, there's also a very high chance that they will have a go at getting the food from above and along as well. So again, just providing lots of different opportunities for natural behaviour, keeping these guys fit, keeping them healthy, and giving them the best quality of life we possibly can, which is exactly what we want these students to learn as they move on in their careers. So yeah, we're really, really happy with this. It has been a hell of a build. But 10 weeks is finally over, and yeah, this is the end result.